Hi everyone, Dr. Holly Freeman here, your field supervisor. The purpose of this video is to go through expectations that I have for the student teachers in class. Let's begin with starting off the semester. So make sure that your cooperating teacher and the student teacher are both familiar with what the schedule is going to look like. Make sure they're aware that Mondays you will be taking your classes, and then Tuesday through Friday you will be in class, generally speaking, bell to bell. During this time, you need to be involved in the lesson planning. Obviously, the first week you're gonna, still figuring things out, but once we pass through that first week, start volunteering to meet during the planning time. Come up with a common planning time that you can meet together. Sometimes you'll find that your cooperating teacher will meet with the department to do some planning. So make sure you have room in your schedule to be able to do that. I do not want to see student teachers coming in and saying at 7:55, hey, what are we doing today? And then start teaching at 8. That's not enough planning time together. You really need to be more involved in that planning. Once you actually do start doing the full-time planning, or even when you're getting more and more planning as you go along, I require that student teachers turn in that plan for the next week by Friday. So by Friday afternoon, you should have a lesson plan for the following week for your cooperating teacher. That will give the cooperating teacher Friday, Saturday, Sunday to look through that and say, hey, we need to make some modifications, and hopefully you can email each other and make those modifications as necessary. Okay, again, the first 8 weeks you will probably do a lot of co-teaching, but don't use that as a period where you just say, oh, I only have to do co-teaching, or I'm only doing observing. Jump in there as much as you possibly can. Volunteer to teach a small section maybe, even the first week. Say, can I do the introduction? Can I do the warm-up? Can I do the exit ticket? Things like that. Okay, during week 9, that's when you start building up to teaching your full-time classes. So during week 9, you should already be teaching at a minimum 2 of the periods per day independently. Okay, your cooperating teacher can obviously be there and can be assisting you, but you should be the lead in that situation. Week 10, you're ramping it up again to another 3 classes, and then by week 11, you're going to be teaching at a minimum 4 periods a day, every day, doing the lesson planning, the grading, every aspect of an instruction of the class. So you'll do that for 4 weeks, and then as you go back down again out of that 4 weeks, you'll go to 3 classes and then 2 classes at the end. Sometimes I have students say to me, oh, I'm done after that 4 weeks teaching. No, you're not. You still need to continue teaching and get as much out of the opportunity as you possibly can. Okay, let me see what else here. Okay, it is very, very important that your cooperating teacher introduce you to the class as soon as you can upon entering the class. The cooperating teacher needs to make the students understand that you are a teacher in the classroom, and students need to listen to you and follow directions from you just as they would any other teacher within the school. That's really important. Okay. So I expect that all the student teachers learn about strategies and techniques that they can incorporate into the lessons to help special education students. Students that are there's a section in your lesson plans where you have to do accommodations for IEP and 504 students, and sometimes students tell me I don't have any in my classroom, and that's okay if you don't. But what I'm going to ask you to do is to write some accommodations that would be typical accommodations for students. in those sections, even if you have no students in your classes, which it is kind of hard to believe that you wouldn't have any, but occasionally I'm sure it does happen. In general, though, we do have special needs students in at least some of our classes. All right. At the very beginning of the semester, the student teacher needs to work with the cooperating teacher to develop a classroom management policy. That classroom management policy could be the one that the cooperating teacher has in place already. It could be one that you work together to modify that works for both, or to make better. It's up to you, but you need to make sure that you have that policy in place, and that is the expectations of that policy are stated to the students and even outlined somewhere in the classroom. And then the student teacher and the cooperating teacher, hopefully will abide to those policies. Okay. I mentioned this in one of my other videos, but this is really important, is to get a seating chart as early as you can and to really start memorizing students' names. I sometimes have student teachers not knowing student names like 4 or 5 weeks into the semester. That just isn't going to fly. You need to make sure that you know the students' names, because that's how you can deal with classroom management issues, by calling on students, but also it's just a great way to build rapport with students. Another recommendation is to stand at the door when the students are coming in and talk to them. Maybe you don't get a chance to talk to every single student, but you can say, "Hey, Kim, how's volleyball going?" Or, "Oh, Joe, what did you learn on your piano today?" or something, or just even getting to know students and talking to them. It's going to build a great rapport, and it's just a great way for students to trust you and say, "Hey, I want to be in this classroom and work with this teacher." All right, the student teacher should have the day's agenda on the board and preferably have the objectives listed somewhere, or at least the objectives should be expressed to the students so they are aware of why they're doing a particular activity or assignment for the day. Okay, often I highly recommend that students build into their lesson plans an anticipatory an anticipatory set, or a bell ringer, or a warm-up activity that you use for the first couple minutes of class. That is very effective for getting the students started right away so you don't waste instructional time. It also allows the classroom teacher to have time to be able to get some management things done if they have to, like taking attendance or working with a student who has missed a class period. Okay. So another thing here too is that students should build into their lesson plans content and skills. It's suggested that you don't lecture for maybe necessarily more than 10 minutes at a time. And if that's something you could do, is give 10 minutes and then ask a few questions and then give another 10 minutes. So if you want to, lecture for a longer period of time, try to break it up with some sort of little mini activity that will give students the time to rest and process the information that you just taught, or practice the information that you just taught. Okay, the student teacher should utilize student-centered lessons and limit lecturing time, as I just talked about. The student teacher should be moving around the classroom while they're lecturing. There are some very odd classrooms out there in the schools, and sometimes I've seen classes be really, really long. The teacher's way up here, and then the student's way back here, and you can't see what's going on. You can't engage them if you're just standing way up in the front with the lights turned off and a PowerPoint going. You need to get those students engaged, give them an opportunity to participate, and know that you care that they're engaged. Okay, the student teacher should also wear appropriate attire. You don't necessarily have to wear a suit and tie or a dress, but you need to be professional looking, and I highly recommend this because you're kind of on a job interview during the student teaching process. The principal and the teacher and the school district and everyone is going to be looking at you and saying, "Hey, should we hire this person?" And I think dressing professionally is an important aspect of that. Yeah, so just wanted to build that in there. Okay, another thing too is try your best to incorporate technology into your lessons. This is a great opportunity for you to test out new technologies and find out what works and what doesn't work for you. And then finally, I would highly suggest that you incorporate some sort of closure activity like an exit ticket. So at the end of the period, maybe you pepper the class with a couple of questions about things that you covered. Maybe you ask everybody, they have to give you a little piece of paper with a response on it at the end of the period before they can leave. Um, different things like that. Try to make it fun, try to engage the students that way, but it also brings closure to the class. All right, a couple of common problems that I have noticed over the years of doing field supervision, so I'd like to point them out and just make you aware that we can avoid these mistakes if we want to. The first one is communication or lack of communication. I welcome you to call me and text me, email me, and even if you need to do it anonymously, you could do it through the department or whatever. Just say, "Hey, this is a problem," or I need help." Or even if I'm doing something that could be better, let me know. I'm open, very, very open to getting constructive feedback myself because I'm always looking to improve as a teacher, and the only way you can do that is to accept constructive criticism and say to yourself, okay, what can I do to be better? And that's, I'm okay with that. So anytime that you need to have help or support, just let me know. This goes for the cooperating teacher as well as the student teacher. I generally speaking am available in the evenings from 7:30 to around 10. Feel free to text, call, or email. And then I'm also available during the days from, around 8 until probably 12. I'm available during that time period, so you can also give me a call then. Okay, the other thing that sometimes happens that I think is not necessarily done on purpose, but I think it's maybe just feeling a little when student teachers feel a little bit insecure or unsure about what they should be doing, they have a tendency to not take a lot of initiative, and then the cooperating teacher tells me that. So don't be that person. I would err on the side of being more involved. I would talk to the cooperating teacher and say, hey, how can I be involved? What can I do? Could I rewrite this quiz for you? Could I add a warm-up for the class today? Could I lecture for a small segment of the class? Do it right from the beginning. Make it part of the process. The students are going to recognize you more as a teacher that way. And I think your cooperating teacher is going to trust you more and say, oh yeah, this person is really wanting to learn and grow and is demonstrating the skills of becoming a competent teacher. So take that initiative. Don't be afraid that you're stepping on the cooperating teacher's toes. Okay, and that's it for today. Thank you so much.